All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Green White Checker TV. Tonight we have the Area 51 Racing League Indy Series. We are here tonight at the Milwaukee Mile. It's going to be a tough flat oval for the drivers to try to wrestle through here this evening. 100 laps is going to be our distance for the night. I see point standings going into tonight's race. Again, the key thing for all these drivers is going to be aiming to get to those top eight positions in the points right now. Those positions are held by Charles Teed, Henry Bennett, Eric Schaus, Matt Wagner, Chad Wilkes, Craig Forsyth, David Payton, and Jim Brooks. But it's pretty tight from ninth on or from eighth on back. So definitely, I think we can see things change in these next three races leading up to that one. So we'll definitely be having to keep an eye on that one for sure here. So saying if there's a track where it could actually come into play, I think tonight is definitely going to be one of those tracks that could really make or break a driver's championship hopes here. So it's gonna be a lot of fun to watch. It's gonna be very interesting to see how this one's gonna play out. Drivers have mentioned this track's gonna be very difficult to get a handle on tonight. So, saying with me here tonight is Steve Gottschalk. Steve, I know you've been making some laps, probably making some qualifying laps now as well. I mean, you could probably attest to it. How much of a handful is it for you right now as well?
This is easily the most difficult track and setup, other than the road courses that I've done in this car this year. I'm so bad in this thing. I don't know how these guys are going as fast as they are.
Yeah, and saying you're exactly right. I mean, it's gonna be a really difficult one, and also, I mean, obviously, we always talk about the aero push week in week out, but even without that, just getting through this turns a very flat track with the 1 mile oval here, and just the aero push, of course. But then also, I mean, you're going through. You're not running like top speed all the way around. I mean, you're going down all the way to third gear through the turns, and then have to get back all the way up to fifth, maybe even sixth if you get a good draft. So it's going to be very interesting to see. Obviously, qualifying can be critical tonight. Of course, even more so, I think, going to be to have that right pit strategy for tonight.
Yeah, I don't think they'll be getting into sixth at all from what I experienced out there. Um, some, as you noticed, were dropping down into third, which is what I had to do to get it slowed down enough. In the turns, other people are able to do it in fourth. For me, the setup is very pushy. It's hard to, there's not really any landmarks on the track that help you figure out the turn in point. So I had a difficult time figuring out where to turn the car in so that I could get down to the bottom. And then if I turned in too early, the car would sometimes end up down on the apron, which would make it a little bit too loose coming off. Otherwise, if you get on the gas too early, it pushes off into the wall. So I think what we're going to, one of the problems that guys are going to have tonight, we're going to see people hitting the wall on exit. But I think that, if we get any long green runs, people are going to get very spread out.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. I think, like I said, if we get those long green flag runs, really going to spread the field out here tonight. So it's gonna be interesting to see how this is all going to pan out for everybody tonight. I said I think qualifying just has completed here, so we got to go over our qualifying order. I should say starting grid. I should say actually for tonight's event. So let's get that pulled on up. And so on pole position again, getting the Dark Horse pole award, not anything new to him. I say Henry Bennett's gonna be patting that pocketbook from that 007, getting that $10 into his account there with that 22.431, just about 200ths of a second over Craig Forsyth in second. Matt Wagner there third, David Payton fourth, and you got a newcomer here, Julian Altina, a quick run for him as well in the fifth position. Then you got Ivan Plott in sixth, Charles Teed seventh, our points leader coming into tonight. And then I'll say we got some viewers again rooting on that number 10 of Anders Arhus. He's going to be starting in the 8th position. And 9th through 16th, we got Bud Steele, Jim Brooks, Chad Wilkes, Jimmy Drynan, Alec Coates, Benjamin Combs, Gary Corley, and Todd Merkel. And then the remainder of the grid here, those opting not to put down a qualifying lap are James Ledford, Eric Schaus, Kyle Hess, Dwight Plesh, and Michael Spell.
So, Gael, one of the other things I think we're going to see here tonight is I don't think there's going to be an outside line. So, you're going to have to set up your passes to get underneath somebody coming off the turns.
Yeah, I think you're right there, Steve. The one thing we might see is maybe kind of an over-under kind of situation where you kind of get that wide arc in and really kind of cut it down on the exit to try to jump underneath that car. I think that's something we might see here tonight. So it'll be pretty interesting to see how this is all going to pan out. But yeah, so I say Henry Bennett going to be again in kind of in the nice position here for qualifying, starting from pole. I'll say his goal here is to try to get a good start and get around that 27 of Craig Forsyth, because we very well know that this initial start of the race is going to be critical for having that track position right off the bat. So I think you'll see probably a little bit of aggression to start off with, and then from there I think these drivers are going to try to then kind of just get into that rhythm throughout the race.
Yeah, I think that's what we're going to see also. And for Craig Forsyth, it's got to feel good after having to drive with hand controls for a good part of the season to finally be back up front.
Yeah, exactly right. So he can really kind of modulate the throttle and everything like that, like he's used to doing with the pedals. I'll say, yeah. So glad to see him back in full form. As the pace car is going to duck off, put it into the hands of that 007 of Henry Bennett. And we'll say once the green flag flies, as it does, we are underway here. Again, 100 laps is the scheduled distance for the race as they hit turn number 1. Oh, I saw Jim Brooks a little high off of turn number 2. May have got the wall a little bit to see if that's enough damage to force him to have to pit here. However, it looks like the rest of the field gets through pretty cleanly. But here comes that big push. You saw those drivers in the aero wash really had to lift off a ton there. That's going to let Henry here sneak away a little bit.
Kind of watching Charles Teed and David Payton right now. Payton's getting a better run off the turns.
Charles Teed, trouble in the front stretch. Jimmy Dryden, he caught the inside wall there, it looks like, at the pit entry. He's able to get rolling again, Steve, but it's going to bring the caution out here for our first caution of the race. Didn't mean to interrupt you there. So he just caught the corner of my eye as he was coming out of turn number 4. I think we saw some drivers I talked about during practice about it, and they'd mentioned that it's just you get a little bit too aggressive on the throttle, and then right on the exit just kind of snaps on you. There's really nothing you can do to catch it. And you can see he's really low there coming out of 4, and I think that probably put him in a pretty bad spot just to begin with. And you can see he locks it down, tries to hang on to, but then unfortunately catches that inside wall, which is going to hurt that right front, or the left front, I should say. And then also, just to make matters a little bit worse, there, it also catches the water barrels there at the entry of the pit road. So has to loop it around. So he's trying to limp this thing back to the pits. I think he might be able to get there. It's gonna be tough for him to stay on the lead lap here, but so he's gonna unfortunately have to burn this first fast repair right off the bat, or sorry, burn the only fast repair I should say right off the bat.
I'm wondering if he made any changes to the weight jacker, because I played with that in practice, and I noticed anything from oh boy, he just spun out in the pits. Anything over 2, like for people that are new to this, the weight jacker starts at 0, and as you move it higher, it puts more weight to the rear of the car, which makes it looser, especially on exit. And I found that for me, anything 2 and above, and I risked spinning out when I was coming off the turns.
Yeah, so I'm based on that, like you're saying, Steve. Sounds like definitely possible on that. Probably also, I mean, cold tires. That's a very good possibility there too. Not up to temperature pressures yet, so just a handful of drivers that are pitted. Looks like Todd Merkel went ahead and he took a splash of fuel. Also, Dwight Plesh, Julian Altina, he stays out. So it's gonna be Todd Merkel, Dwight Plesh, James Ledford, who all hit the pits. Of course, Jimmy Dryden had to as well. So he's back out on track here. On the plus side, just 1 lap down, so I mean he's going to still be in a good spot here, but he's going to definitely have to keep that car clean the rest of the way here.
Yeah, definitely.
And so with this is going to be the next really tricky part, I feel like, Steve, on the race here is going to be obviously double file on that first start here. Now it's going to be single file. And again, this is a track long straightaways here, so it's going to be these drivers going to have to make sure that they don't kind of have that accordion effect on the start and on the restarts especially. So drivers are going to have to make sure they kind of give themselves a little bit of a gap, maybe kind of stagger off a little bit to give themselves an escape almost, if you will, if the timing is off a little bit. But we've seen with these Indy cars and single file restarts in general, it definitely does open up for some potential issues, especially at a flat oval like this.
Yep, and we've certainly seen enough accordion wrecks in our life.
Yeah, I'm sure we've been on plenty of the receiving ends of those, so hopefully it doesn't come into play, but just something that these drivers definitely need to be aware of. So now it's up to Henry Bennett when he wants to go. Once that pace car peels off, he's able to decide. So it's a pretty short window, though, so he's going to have to react pretty quickly here. As you see, the pace car ducks off. You can see already they're all lined up on that inside line, and we are down and away. You see some drivers right away ducking away to make sure they don't hit one another. I think as a whole, looks like they got away pretty cleanly there.
Yeah, I was watching a little bit farther back in the pack, and Ivan Pla got an extremely good run, and actually was to the outside of the car in front of him when they went into turn one, but he wisely backed off and just pulled in behind.
Yeah, that's honestly the best approach to take here. And while you mentioned him, to say you see him here, he's working underneath the 6 of Bud Steele, trying to grab that position here. Then right behind him, the 10 of Anders Arhus. Is the Anders actually? He's going to run the top side here to 3 and 4. We talked about maybe that top line not working, and yeah, you can see there doesn't really get the momentum that he needs on the exits. If anything, it actually brought Eric Schaus a lot closer to him. And actually mentioning Eric, he is on a move right now, Steve, from 18 starting spot all the way up into the top 10 already, and that's only within about 10, not even 10 laps here under green. So. He's definitely making some big moves, but now here comes again Anders working the top side, this time with pretty good success there, and he's going to make that top side work. He's going to grab that spot from Ivan, so move Anders now up into that 8th spot.
It's interesting. I wonder if the high line is going to start working.
Yeah, I wonder if just that again we can kind of talk about the momentum. You see Eric Schaus going to follow through as well, so I think maybe just there's that little bit of momentum on the outside line that's been working for them. So. I say Eric Schaus follows through. He's going to move up into that 9th spot. Just a little further back, Benjamin Combs. He's making the move, looks like underneath Alec Coates here. Trying to make a move on Alec Coates right outside the top 10 here. This is 11th and 12th positions. Let's say both these drivers started just a few spots back, so they've both been able to gain a couple spots here on the early going. I'm going to jump back up, so I think that 10 car, yeah, I was going to say, he looked like he was going after Bud Steele. Already completes the pass by the time I get to him there. So move Anders now up into the 7th position. So he's able to regain a few spots that he lost on the initial start here, but it definitely looks like he's going to have some pace in that 10 car tonight. Oh, Michael Spell loose. Cautioned actually out behind him. It's going to be Gary Corley in the 65. Yeah, heavy damage. And you saw Michael Spell almost catch the inside pit wall. Looks like he just was able to hang on to that one and not to hit it. However, unfortunately, Gary Corley not so lucky. He's got some pretty significant damage right front tire as well here, Steve. Sort of take a look, see how that's unfolded for him. And this looks like it might be a little bit of a different situation than earlier here. I think he may have just got kind of loose mid-turn here. We'll take a look here as he goes through 3 and 4. So he's on his own here. Oh, actually, though, right there you see catches the curb, also catches just a little bit of grass, and then from there, that car, he's just going to be along for the ride there, and so he catches the outside wall pretty solidly, but luckily, again, only a single car incident here, so he'll be able to do the same. Grab that fast pair, get back out on track here, but also going to have to try to keep this clean the rest of the way. So let's jump to our leaders, though, and see if we have any pit stop strategies here, or if I suspect we're going to see pretty much everybody still stay out if they're towards the front.
How many laps did they tell you they could go on fuel?
Fuel window was about 50. It was in that like 45 to 50 range, so knowing these guys, probably actually the 50 range. And so now when you think about the cautions that have come out here, this is our second yellow. So you know they can usually save at least a lap or so under these cautions. So at this point, I would say they could probably get to about lap 55 or so is my guess before they would have to make a green flag pit stop.
Okay, so we're looking at a one-stop race, most likely.
Yeah, I think at this point we're probably in a one-stop range. A few drivers did pit there. Julian Altina, Jim Brooks, looks like also, or no, I keep thinking Julian pitted, but actually no, it shows he did, so I'm not sure. But Jim Brooks, Todd Merkel, James Ledford, Kyle Hess, Dwight Plush, and Gary Corley all in the pits. And then Jimmy Dryden, he does get the wave round, so he's going to get back on the lead lap. So it's going to give us all 21 drivers back on the lead lap here tonight. And I do believe actually Julian pitted. I think he just maybe drove through the pits there. I think we'll probably see him in the second time around. Like I said, I think he's just trying to kind of get familiar with the drivers here, a different league for him. But I think that's a really nice way of doing things as well. Just get a feel for him. You saw him; he did a qualifying lap, but he actually went ahead and started in the back here. So yeah, so I kind of like what I see from that 31 car, just trying to get a feel for the league, the drivers, and everything like that. But I think give him a race or two, and he'll probably be right into the thick of things, just judging by the pace that we've seen, that I was able to see from him in practice.
So, question: did Anders Aarhus change his paint for this race?
I believe he did. I'll say, according to Mom. Again, we get some nice insider info from our viewers on YouTube here. Let's go ahead and take a look. Yeah, he's got the Seattle Sounders football club paint scheme on that number 10 machine. So yeah, so he was able to update that, and I think that was kind of the inspiration for that color, the colors that he had before. Now he's been able to update it with some actual some sponsors on the car with the Seattle Sounders side of things. So pretty cool to see him support his football club. And MLS definitely been picking up here in the U.S. the last handful of years. Got some big names that have moved their way from the Premier Leagues and various leagues in Europe to come over to the U.S. side.
Well, that's definitely a nice tribute to the league and the team. It's a nice looking car.
Yeah, it's a really good looking paint scheme there. So I'll say Mom was definitely quick to notice the paint scheme update tonight, so luckily able to get a good shot of it here this evening as well. Hopefully we'll be able to get an interview with that paint scheme as well. That's going to be, of course, the end goal for all these drivers, Steve. As you know, we're definitely the most important thing for these drivers in the races, to have that chance to talk to us here.
Yes, that's right.
That being said, though, Steve, lights are off on the pace car. All drivers are back on the lead lap here. Going to restart this on lap number 18. We're going to have 83 laps to go. Again, everybody still is going to have to make a pit stop to get to the end. Question is going to be when to make that strategy, when to make that pit stop happen. So we have about 14th on back, went ahead and pitted. The rest of these drivers have yet to make their first pit stop of the evening. All right, pace car is in. Henry Bennett drops the gear. And we are down and away again under green, and it looks like, again, another clean restart by the field there.
Yep, definitely. I mean, they did exactly what you were suggesting that they do, which was offset a little bit. Because I did notice there was some accordion, and I think it might have been Eric Schaus that had to go underneath the car in front of him. And, of course, he didn't want to get penalized, so he quickly backed off and pulled in behind the person before the start-finish line.
Yeah, wasted no time, though. He's able to get underneath that 6 of Bud Steele. Looks like he's just going to complete the pass there. We also saw the 5 of Charles Teed able to get around the 17 of Chad Wilkes there. So that's going to move Charles back into the top 5 here. However, I don't think that Chad is done with him as of yet, because he's getting some pretty good momentum on the exit here. And you can see definitely wants to find a way back around, just hasn't found the opening to do so yet.
And while you were looking at that, Matt Wagner just made a nice inside pass on Craig Forsyth going through 1 and 2. So it looks like at least the inside is working for him. And now we got David Payton pulling right up on the back of Craig Forsyth also.
Yeah, same while you said that, Chad Wilkes back underneath the 5 of Charles Teed. So we got battles throughout the track here. Also see Gary Corley in the pits there. Not sure if may have had something happen that we didn't catch, unfortunately, but we'll keep an eye and see if he's able to get back going again in that 65 machine. But right now, we're watching this fight here. Right now, you got almost a 3-car pack up front, 4 cars behind. But even a little further back, Bud Steele, he's starting to get under some pressure from the 77 of Benjamin Combs. So right now there's definitely a lot of close racing here. So again, just the difficulty of trying to make these passes happen, though.
Yep, and Henry Bennett is kind of in a league of his own at the moment. It will be interesting to see if any of these guys can chase him down.
Yeah, so I think that's also the thing, though, Steve, is trying to find that, kind of manage that gap that you want to have to that car in front, so you can still keep the clean air on your nose. As we're watching now the battle for third here with the 27 and the 38, Craig Forsyth, David Payton. You're right though. It seems like Craig either maybe just may not quite have the pace, or maybe just trying to pace himself a little bit early on here. The problem when you do that though, these guys are going to waste no time on you. So right now David Payton trying to find a way to get around that 27 car, just hasn't found the spot to do so yet.
It's interesting. I'm noticing that that Craig Forsyth is taking a higher line in 1 and 2. I'm pretty sure that was on purpose.
Yeah, so I'm actually going to jump back just a little bit because now we got a really good fight here. We got, what, 7th, 8th, and 9th positions here. Sorry, 6th, 7th, 8th here. You got Charles Teed, Anders Arhus, and Eric Schaus. So these guys are starting to get right on top of one another. Out Coates, he hits the pits as well. It looks like Gary Corley, unfortunately, has retired from the event. So it looks like that's going to be the end for his night early, unfortunately. We'll keep an eye on Alec. Hopefully he's able to get back out on track here as well. Right now he's going to be down a couple of laps here as he sits in the pit. So right now, top 2 speed-wise, Steve, I mean, not really a huge surprise. They're going to be the top 2 on track. They both ran 23.0s, about a 0.2 quicker than third on back there. As I say that, they actually now run 22.9. So, yeah, right now Henry Bennett, Matt Wagner really trying to pick up the pace and kind of stretch it around, away from these guys up front here. But, yeah, I mean, of course, these guys all have really nice clean air in front of them, no pressure around them. Craig Forsyth's been able to separate himself now from that 38 of David Payton, so he's got a little bit of breathing room as well. We'll see if he's able to pick up his pace as well. And also been trying to keep an eye on the drivers that pitted under that caution. Right now, Jim Brooks, the first of those up there with the fresher tires and more fuel. He's only been able to gain about a spot or so since that restart, so looks like tires at this point not making a huge difference yet.
Yeah, it definitely sounds that way. I was kind of curious what they'd be able to do.
Yeah, I'd say right now a little bit not a queue by any means, but I'd say definitely the closest battle on pack or in the pack right now. Right now, I think you're kind of watching here. Charles Teed just right now, just in front of the 10 of Anders Arhus. You got Eric Schaus right there. Now also joining that group is that 75 of Ivan Pla. You've got all 4 of them within about a second of each other. So you see Eric there peek to the inside there, and Anders was quick to run that same line there. So Eric had to jump to the top to get some clean air in his wing, and actually gets a great exit off of 2. Might be able to make a move here entering 3. Yeah, Eric gets that pass done there. I think that was a little bit of give and take as well, which is, again, something you really love to see from these leagues. I think Anders saw he had the run, just went ahead and rolled out of it. No sense fighting too hard too early here, because Eric, again, I mean, he's got some serious pace right now in that 72 car. Immediately got to the back of that number 5 of Charles Teed here. And again, you see he has to run really wide there off of 4 to try to get some clean air on the nose of that car. As they do that, though, here comes that 75 Ivan Pla. He's trying to jump into this fight now too.
Yeah, I'm curious to see, like, Eric seems to be getting off the turns better. I'm curious. Yeah, there he goes on the inside. I was wondering how he was going to set up that pass, and it looked pretty easy the way he ended up doing it.
Yeah, so I'm going to jump back forward here because you got right now the battle between Chad Wilkes and David Payton. Chad running the inside line, David running the top side. So it looks like Chad's been able to complete the pass. Going to kind of protect the bottom there. You see kind of holds the inside line there on the backstretch here. So let's move Chad now up into the 4th position. So again, Chad hasn't been running the Indy cars too much here early on, but he's definitely starting to really get a nice feel for it pretty quickly. It feels like, seems like just week after week he's able to be just that much faster every time he's on track. So I'm really impressed by kind of the quick learning skills that he's been showing.
Yep, he seems like he's been up near the front in every race recently.
Yeah, he's definitely been on a really good run here. As I say, now you see Anders. He's gonna peek underneath the 5 of Charles Teed. I was talking to Charles, who's kind of hoping he might find a little bit of setup magic. As I say that, contact within 10 and the 5. Caution's gonna come out as we're watching that. Unfortunately, Charles Teed gonna get the worst of it. Both cars with some damage though. Actually, I think I saw another one lock up on the backstretch there. So it's going to bring the yellow out here, Steve, on lap 36. You can see the front wing damage to that 10 car. So the 5 car actually looks like he had to actually take a tow, so that's going to drop him probably at least 1 lap. So let's go back and kind of see how this all kicked off. I know I saw another car in the backstretch involved as well. Let's try to see where that came from as well.
I'm wondering if Charles knew that Anders was underneath him because it looks like he kind of came down on him in the middle of the turn.
Yeah, I'll take a look here as I enter turn number 1. And yeah, like I said, right now he's running pretty low there on the entry, and they kind of just meet in the middle really. But you're not wrong there, Steve. It was definitely tight between the two of them. And so yeah, it may have just been those both drivers kind of fighting for the same track, same real estate there. So unfortunately, like I said, Charles T kind of gets the worst of that one. It's gonna be a break for the 37 Alec Coates. He's gonna get one of his 3 laps back, and put him back to 2 down. And then I think that's the 77. Yeah, it's the 77 of Benjamin Combs. He did a little bit of drifting there to after trying to avoid that wreck, so he's able to get away from that okay though, luckily. However, while that was all going on, we had some pit stops and we have some strategy calls here, Steve. We got 2 drivers went ahead and stayed out. It's going to be the 76 of Jim Brooks, the 99 of Jimmy Drynan. Jimmy Drynan actually, he pitted under that first yellow, I believe, when he had his incident. Jim Brooks pitted under that last yellow, so he was opting for some track position here, see if he can kind of go off cycle. So that's going to put Henry Bennett in the 3rd position. So say a little bit of pit strategy here, going to change up our running order a little bit. It's going to stick a couple of these guys in some dirtier air than they've been used to so far.
Yeah, definitely, especially Henry Bennett, who hasn't had any dirty air the whole race so far.
Yeah, so now you wonder again, how much aggression is he going to have to show to try to get right back into it here. Unfortunately, Charles Teat still sits in the pits here while I'm waiting for that tow to complete. So right now we have 18 drivers on the lead lap. Alec Coates is 2 laps down. We'll double check to see where Charles Teat cycles through. I think right now he's at the 2 lap down mark, so hopefully he's able to get rolling out here now. In just a moment, be able to at least stay just the 2 down. But yeah, so right now top 2 stayed out. Jim Brooks, he's got about 24 laps since his last pit stop. Jimmy Dryden 35. So Jimmy can probably go, I would say, maybe about 20 more laps or so, maybe a little bit more than that, just again with the cautions and the fuel savings. But if it goes green, nobody can make it to the end. So I like this strategy from the guys that stayed out here. You might as well do something, especially, I mean, you look at where Jim was. He was in, I think, just outside the top 10. Now he's going to restart from the lead.
Yeah, I'm less liking this strategy just because at some point those guys are going to have to pit, and I'm not so sure the people behind them are going to have to pit.
Yeah, I say this is kind of, again, one of those risk versus reward calls. I think this is just trying to go a little bit off strategy to get yourself that track position that maybe you didn't feel like you were going to be able to get. I mean, we saw Jim pit when nobody else did, I should say was the first to pit without anybody else in front of him that were on the same strategy, and just wasn't able to make those passes happen. So now he's going to have the track position to see maybe he can hold that lead. And do need to mention Charles Teed is back out on track, is 2 laps down, so he and Alec Coates will be racing for that lucky dog spot. So now it's going to be all about this restart here for that 76, though, to try to see if he can build a little bit of a gap over that 007, the 11, and 27 here on this restart.
This is where we're going to find out what these 2 guys have.
Yeah, say Jim's down and away again. It looks like a clean restart towards the rest of the field, so great job again by all the drivers. Jim does get a nice little start there ahead of the 99 of Jimmy Drynan. So say now his goal is just going to be try to run some clean laps, use that clean air to your full advantage here, and see how the pace is compared to you to that number 007 of Henry Bennett, who's the first driver on the fresh tires.
Yeah, and with the fastest guys, at least to this point in the race, on new tires, we're going to get a good comparison here of new tires versus old.
Yeah, and right now, Jimmy Drynan, he's the one that's showing more pace right now. So you can see Jim's been kind of washing up a little bit the last couple of turns. Looks like he's going to get it a little bit more under control there off of turn 3 and 4 here. But Jimmy Drynan, even with the older tires, he's still keeping that 76 car very honest here on this restart.
So far, I'm impressed. These guys are holding their own up there.
Yeah, it looks like also running right around their fastest laps of the race. Jimmy actually did run his fastest lap of the race that last time by. And like I said, I mean, Jimmy's actually showing pretty good pace here. Actually, almost able to get his nose just underneath that 76 car. Actually, now going to peak underneath here in turn one. I'm saying even with those older tires, Jimmy Dryden, he's going to take the point here in turn number one.
Yeah, it looked to me like Jim Brooks just kind of took a higher line and backed off to give up that spot.
Yeah, see, now that's going to put him in a really tough position because now you're going to have the dirty air and the older tires to these guys with the brand new tires in front of him, or behind him, I should say. You can see Henry Bennett already taking a look to the inside here in turn number one. So we'll see if he can complete the pass or see if there's some momentum still on that top side, but I think Henry doing what he needs to do. So now Jimmy Dryden, though, he's in a nice little spot here. He's just going to have to hope for, like you mentioned, Steve, maybe a timely caution in about, I would say, 15 or so laps to put himself in kind of a catbird seat.
Yeah, that would definitely work out nicely.
So you see Henry Bennett has been able to get around the 76, and now Matt Wagner is going to try to follow him through as well. You see he's able to get underneath off of 2. Looks like should be able to complete the pass here entering 3. And yeah, is going to be able to do so pretty cleanly. So move Matt Wagner back up into that 3rd position here. Jim Brooks back to 4th, and then Craig Forsyth, he's going to waste no time, going to try to follow through. So this is where you try the strategy, and it may not be going exactly to plan. But at this point, I mean, obviously there's nothing you can do here. So he's just going to have to try to limp through here. As you can see, he got really tight off of turn number 2. Just doesn't seem like that 76 has the handle that he's looking for.
No, he looks like he's really struggling with this.
Yeah, so Chad Wilkes and David Payton going to try to follow through here as well. Let's say the one driver that's loving this right now is going to be that 99, though, Jimmy Dryden. I mean, again, he was, unfortunately, say he was that first yell at the beginning where he just got loose on the throttle. But using pit strategy here, he stayed out. He's now up into the point. So he's got about a 9/10 of a second lead over Henry Bennett. Henry's been able to close the gap a little bit, but again, eventually Henry's going to start hitting that aero push. And actually, that last time by, Jimmy was fastest car on track. So is doing what he needs to do here to try to protect that lead position.
Yeah, I'm very impressed with what Jimmy's doing right here.
So we'll jump back a little further here. Michael Spell, he is in the 13th position, right ahead of that 31 of Julian Altina. They are in 13th and 14th positions. So actually Michael's up from 21st to 13th, so he's having a really good run here in that 88 car. I think one of the highest climbers for sure in this one. The other, of course, being that the 72 of Eric Schaus. We mentioned him a little earlier as well. So I say right now these guys definitely moving forward from their starting spots in the race. I'll say right now, though, Jim Brooks still in a gaggle of cars. You see, I'll say, unfortunately, that strategy has not really worked out for him. He's now back into about the 9th, 10th positions here. Ivan Plod just got around him as well. And so you see now the 75 there. Or sorry, Anders Arhus got by him. Now Ivan Plod's trying to do the same, I should say, as we just crossed the halfway point in the race. And now that 38 and the 10, they're going to try to continue this battle between the two of them.
When I do something like what Jim Brooks did, and that I know that there's lots of cars behind me on fresh tires, and I start dropping back like that, my only thought is I just hope I don't drop back so far that I'm the same place where I started, only with older tires.
Yeah, and it isn't looking very good for him at this point with that strategy, like you said, but I think right now, I think he's maybe a few spots away from him, but yeah, I mean, I think at this point he is going to probably fall back to where he is. I almost have to wonder if he might have a little bit of damage from somewhere that he may not have noticed, just because, just from where I'm sitting, just doesn't seem like that car has any rotation compared to the rest of the field here. It just seems like that car is just plowing on the center and exit of the turns, where the rest of these guys seem to really be able to kind of cut underneath them. Even when he had that clean air, still wasn't able to do anything with it.
Yeah, it sounds like he was experiencing what I did when I was trying to drive the car. Almost like I had a different setup than what everybody else was driving.
Yeah, so I'm sure he's kind of feeling the same way. It's like, what do these guys have that I don't right now? But it's like he is right in the thick of this mess right now. I see Ivan Plod trying to still find a way to get around him. But then right behind him, I mean, it's a gaggle here. You've got the 31 of Julian Altina. You got the 77 Benjamin Combs. The 6 of Bud Steele's right there in this one as well. And then right behind him, the 88 Michael Spell. Charles Teed, he's caught back up to this pack right now. And do need to mention Charles is right now the first of those cars 2 down. So kind of have to manage the aggression here. Want to make sure you keep yourself a little bit of distance to make sure you don't get caught up in anything. should there be some contact in front of you. But right now it looks like he's focused on just trying to make up some time and maybe just try to see if he can find the outright pace in that car should he get back on that lead lap.
And up front right now, the gap between Jimmy Dryden and Henry Bennett is 1.1 seconds. I mean, Dryden is doing a great job up there.
Yeah, he really is. To say the concern for him now is when he's going to have to potentially make that green flag pit stop. So he's on 53 laps since his last stop. We've had a handful of yellows, so I'd say he's going to be able to stretch it just a little bit more. But I suspect you probably see him for sure within the next 5 or so laps. So this is where he's going to be hoping for that yellow. But the other thing I'm looking at is Matt Wagner. He's been closing the gap now on Henry Bennett. So it's down to within about half a second between the two of them. So Matt's been able to run just a little, looks like almost about a half a groove higher and starting to close that gap down. And then just behind them you see Chad Wilkes also starting to chase down the 27 of Craig Forsyth. So right now in the top 5 we definitely have a couple of close battles here as things are going.
Okay, so here's how it could work out for Jimmy Dryden in his favor. If he, let's say, well, one way is if it stays green. Here he's pitting now.
Oh, and I was going to say, actually, Bud Steele, he's got some damage to that car. You can see he's trying to limp it to the Penske area. Right here comes Jimmy, and Bud Steele's going to hit the pits as well. So Jimmy has to give up the lead. It's going to give Henry Bennett some clean air, which is probably exactly what he was hoping to see there because Matt Wagner, we mentioned, was starting to put some pretty serious pressure on him. So now the question is going to be, I believe Jimmy's only going to go one down here. So he's already starting to leave the pits here. But yeah, leader's going to just get around him here. You can see him go by right there. So it looks like he might be able to cycle through in about the 5th or so position here as he gets out of the pits, though. So say now Jimmy's just got to be careful on the exit, let the tires kind of get up to pressures, temperatures, and then just kind of try to see what he can do. Maybe see if he can use that fresh rubber to do something with these guys and get that lap back.
And he basically has to hope now that that it stays green, and all these guys ahead of him have to also pit under green, which is still going to be, you know,
it's going to be another 25, 30 laps at this rate, we think.
Yeah, and I would think that, you know, if you're running up front and you have to pit, you're probably not going to take tires. You're probably just going to do a splash of fuel and go.
That's a good question, actually, Steve. You're exactly right because let's say they can go about 25 more laps. That's going to get them to about, I believe, 15 to go. That's only going to be probably maybe 3-4 gallons of fuel, I would suspect. Because I don't have the fuel calculator like a lot of these guys will have on them. But yeah, it's only gonna be a couple gallons. So if you take tires, you'd be waiting on the tires. So it really just depends on how the tire wear is looking on your cars, which I'm sure they were able to get a bit of a feel for that on that first run. So yeah, it's gonna be very interesting to see. But you can see what's happened though for Henry once he got that clean air. He has been able to open that gap just that little bit back to that 11 of Matt Wagner. So say this is where if you're Matt, you might have to think about trying to kind of play, if we do get that green flag pit stop, is to maybe try to play the opposite strategy of what that 007 does.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm watching lap times now to see how much they drop off from when these guys had fresh tires. And I don't know if it was an aberration, but Henry's last lap was 23.4. He just did a 23.6. They were running 22.9, 23.0s on fresh tires.
Yeah, so I'm watching Jimmy Dryden as well to see what he's able to do now after his pit stop. And actually, he's just got passed by that 10 of Anders R, who's, again, not for a position, but it just shows that even Anders with the older tires still has a lot of pace in that car. And I say that's always that little bit of a balance as well with the fresher tires, but you also are heavier on fuel. And these cars are very, very weight sensitive. The lighter these cars are, the faster they seem to go, even on the older tires. So I think right now, I think Jimmy's just going to try to have to kind of manage what he's got right now. But I think that might be hurting him a little bit in that number 99 machine here.
Not to mention he's got the aero problems back there that he didn't, he had the clean air before he pitted.
Yeah, you're exactly right. So do need to mention Eric Schaus just got around the 27 of Craig Forsyth, so now those guys switch positions. Eric up to 4th, Craig in 5th. So you can see not too far behind that number 17 of Chad Wilkes. But like I said, I don't think, I feel like we're really going to see a lot of drivers not be wanting to pit here early. As you see, Julian Altina, he's actually now in a fight with Ivan Pla. Julian made his way up now, working on the 8th position between himself and the 75. And say, here comes Jim Brooks. He's had to make his pit stop after staying out as long as he could. Definitely going to go one down. He's going to hope that he doesn't go 2 down here in that 76 car. But like I said, he's going to be in that same boat. Really going to need this thing to go green the rest of the way. Looks like Benjamin Combs and also Michael Spell, they decided they're going to hit the pits. I'll say they could have gone a lot longer. They decided here they're going to split this run more kind of evenly here. So they're going to get back out and going. And say it looks like Jim was able to stay just the 1 lap down in that 76 car. But right now, say the 007 Henry Bennett, he's not too far away from starting to catch some lap traffic. You see the 44 of Dwight Plesh. He's going to be the first of those drivers for him to come up to. Although I'm looking, yeah, okay, yeah, it is Dwight Plesh. So this might be able to give Matt a little bit of an opportunity here to use the dirty air from the 007 to try to close up that gap once more before they start hitting their pit stop window.
Really surprised at how far off the pace Jimmy Dryden is, having pitted and got new tires and fuel.
Yeah, just the pace is not there. You're right. He's about a half a second or so slower, but again, I'm just wondering if there's, again, maybe just being a little bit heavier on fuel and just letting those tires come up, and probably also having to be a little bit extra cautious as well. Is just put him in a kind of a bad spot here, because again, you can see now that Ivan Pla, he's starting to put the pressure on. We saw Julian Altina go by. Now that 75 is trying to do the same, but you're right though. It just seems like it's a completely different car for that pit stop.
Yeah, it does. I just wondered, maybe he was a lot more comfortable driving it when it was low on fuel.
And here's the first of our front runner, Steve Craig Forsyth. He's going to hit the pits here. So I'm going to watch his pit stop here. I want to see if we can maybe get a view as to what he's going to do, if he takes tires or if it's going to be a splash only. I feel like if you're pitting this early, you're probably going to be taking tires. Yep, the car goes up, so definitely tires going on that 27 car. Again, he is going to get put a lap down as Dwight Plesh also hits the pits down and away for Craig. About a 7.3 second stop for him. And actually right now, Chad Wilkes, he is really starting to pick up some pace here. He's been the quickest car on track the last couple of laps here on the lead lap. And he is now within just a couple of tenths of a second to the 11 of Matt Wagner.
Well, that definitely answers the question about whether these guys can make it the rest of the way on fuel. They cannot.
No, I don't think anybody can make it. The question, like you said, I think is going to be, are they going to do like Craig and take tires and fuel? Or are they going to maybe take that splash of fuel as late as they can, like we kind of think they might? Because I say I think that pit stop window is going to pretty much be forced here in about 10 more laps, as they're starting about lap number 40 of the run this next time around. But yeah, I mean, like I said though, that 17 though, Chad Wilkes, he has really got some pace in that car right now. He's actually right now, like I mentioned, he's actually quicker than Matt Wagner and Henry Bennett. Although Matt Wagner stepped it up that last time around, these guys are all starting to get really tight on one another here.
Yeah. We very nearly had a wreck between Craig Forsyth and Anders Arhus. Anders is pitting now.
Yeah, so is David Payton in the 38. So again, some more pit stops. So a lot more pit stops coming in from this. You see Julian Altina, he's going to hit the pits as well as the 75. So the windows are really starting to open for these guys. But for Henry Bennett, so he's got some traffic around him inside and outside here. This is going to really slow his pace up here. And that's almost where if I was maybe one of those guys a little bit further back, as now you see the 17 Chad Wilkes, he's going to make a move on the 11 of Matt Wagner. Matt had no choice there. He had to react and let him on by there because they were going to be forced 3 wide otherwise. And saying now here comes Eric Schaus to that big run as well. But I almost would have maybe, if I was one of those cars in the back of that group, you can see how much time they lost. That may have been a good time to just jump in, grab that splash fuel and jump out. To see if you could maybe gain that time just from the lack of or the loss of speed, I should say, while fighting through that traffic.
And I can tell you that Craig Forsyth now with clean air is running. He ran 22.7.
That was the fastest lap of the race by Craig Forsyth the last time by. So he is using those tires to their full potential. But Henry Bennett, I mean, he's under attack. Here comes that 17 Chad Wilkes. Don't know if maybe Henry's trying to stretch his fuel number out because he puts up no fight there. So Chad Wilkes, he's going to take the point in that 17 car here as we next time around it's going to be 20 to go.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Is he trying to
pit stop? No, he's
Okay.
not stretching. So say he's in, Matt Wagner's in. So say there's our two of our leaders here. So that's going to leave Eric Schaus, Chad Wilkes as the last two are going to make some pit stops. Todd Merkel as well, actually, I should mention, in the 81. He's yet to make his last stop. He's right now going to be cycling up into that third position here shortly. But yeah, so we'll have to keep an eye on the pit stops for these guys. And as I say that, here comes Chad Wilkes now, which is going to inherit the lead to Eric Schaus. As he actually looks like Eric's going to go ahead and lap both of the 007 and the 70, or sorry, and the 11, I should say. So right now, really two cars on the lead lap here, Todd Merkel and Eric Schaus. And if that 50 lap margin is right here, we know how good Eric is on saving fuel. But as I say that, here he comes as well. So so far nobody has done the fuel strategy, only Steve. Everybody's been putting tires on these cars. So now it's going to be really critical to see who's going to cycle out where in relation to one another.
I think with as many laps as they had left, they had to get tires. They had no choice.
We're going to jump back up front here, though, Steve, because look what's going on at the front of the field. Craig Forsyth with that fastest lap of the race. He's been able to leapfrog those guys, Steve. So move Craig into the lead here. He's got Henry Bennett all over the rear wing of him. Eric, and then you got the 17 Chad Wilkes right there. The 11 of Matt Wagner's right there as well. So these guys definitely are putting on a fight. So Eric Schaus definitely lost some time for that pit stop. He's about a straightaway behind him, unfortunately. So the waiting strategy didn't pan out for him. But we've got a big fight for the lead here as we cross the line here with 17 to go.
Yeah, and it's an interesting situation because Craig Forsyth is a lot slower in the middle of the turn, probably on purpose. Up here goes Henry underneath him. Henry was having to back off to keep from hitting Craig in the middle of the turn like almost every lap.
And actually, I need to mention right now, actually our race leader is that number 81 of Todd Merkel. He is stretching his fuel out. So he's going to be pitting soon, and that's going to cycle the lead over to that battle for the lead. And saying, as I said that, of course, you saw the 007 Henry Bennett able to get around Craig. Now Chad Wilkes, he's going to try to follow on through here. I say Chad obviously going to want to waste no time on this position here because he's got to try to stay as close as he can to Henry as he makes the pass, as you see Todd Merkel pits. So now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 here, all within 1 second of each other. So here comes Matt Wagner. He's going to jump to the inside here, see if he can make the pass happen. Right now they're on 15 to go, so I say everything. They're going to have to get aggressive here and start making moves. I see Matt trying to use as much track as he could there to try to keep the momentum up on that inside line. I think it looks like he'll complete the pass on Craig now. And actually Henry Bennett, he's in some heavy traffic here. You see Charles Teed, he gives way. So he's going to be hoping for that same kind of respect if he's in that position later on in their season here for himself there. So Charles not going to put up any fight there. He's jumping out of the way of these lead pack drivers.
We've got a good battle coming up here between Chad Wilkes and Matt Wagner.
Yeah, see, it looks like Matt might have the short run speed, whereas Chad's got some really good long run speed. But it seems like whatever happened that last time by, it really slowed up that 17 car and it's been able to give the 007 a nice little cushion here. So right now, now you've got, like I said, here comes that battle though for that second spot. Like Matt just going to clear him there off of 4. So Matt's going to move up to second. He's got about a second and a half or so that he's going to have to try to gain on Henry. We just saw Henry get around the 99 of Jimmy Dryden. Unfortunately, that things just did not go Jimmy's way after that pit stop. But he had a great run going prior to that. But now Matt Wagner stuck in a bad spot there. Had to jump to the bottom of 3 wide there to get around a couple of guys. Again, that's going to slow his pace down that little bit more, I should say. But now they've got some pretty clean air in front of them here for Henry Bennett and for Matt Wagner. So this will be the time to start looking at those lap times.
Yep, can Matt Wagner run him down? Let's see. Well, we only have 10 laps left, so it's going to be tough. It's going
to take a lot. I mean, Matt is he's on the same tire strategy as Henry. I mean, just that last time by, he lost about 0.3 of a second with that little bit of where he had to kind of fight that 3 wide to get that position there. So this will be the first kind of equal lap between the two of them. and we'll see what those lap times look like. But yeah, I mean, we know how fast Henry is week in and week out. It's gonna be tough to beat him. I think heads up right now, with especially with that kind of a deficit going into it.
Yeah, definitely. And I forgot to load the thing that tells me when these guys did their pit stops. So who has the fresher tires between Matt Wagner and Henry Bennett?
So Henry and Matt are actually on equal tires. Chad Wilkes actually got 1 lap fresher tires. Craig Forsyth, he pitted about 8 laps before them. I just saw someone just spin off into the pit entry there. That was the 48 of James Ledford. But with him going into the pits, that does not bring out a yellow, so we stay green here. Say Henry Bennett, you can see he's been able to stretch his lead to about 2 seconds now. Matt and Henry have been pretty much trading fastest laps between the two of them, but it's by hundredths of a second each time, so that gap holding pretty steady right now.
And I have to say that it's pretty impressive if you can spin into the pits at this track.
Yeah, so unfortunately he got some pretty good damage from it, but yeah, he did a nice little slide right into the pits. I saw a lot of drivers doing that during practice, kind of expecting more during the race of that to happen as well. But that being said, though, we're going to jump back a little bit because actually, as we have 5 to go, though, but David Payton, Anders Arhus, this is a good battle here. This is actually for the top 5 here, Steve. So definitely some of these guys want to fight for, and actually Eric Schaus, he's starting to close that gap on them as well. So it's about to be a 3-car battle for that position. As you can see now, so almost again looks like they're going to try to go 3 wide here into turn number 3. They're going to make it work. Anders going to come away with that 5th position as they came out of turn number 4.
Yeah, that was a very nice pass that he just made.
Yeah, so Eric Schau's going to have to try to follow through as well, because again, when these laps go under green, they're just over 20 seconds in 22, 23 second range. Matt Wagner, though, I mean, he's been picking up the pace, and Henry's about to hit a lot of traffic here, Steve, with 3 to go. You see 3 cars right in front of him, all in kind of close proximity. So this could really put Henry in a bad spot if he gets that arrow push or just catches him at the wrong spot in the turn. So if you're Matt Wagner, this is where you got to pretty much throw everything you have at it these last 2.5 laps.
Well, I think the best battle that we have going on here now is between Eric Schaus and David Payton. Eric's trying to pass him on the outside. Will it work?
I'll say, well, I'll have you keep an eye on that one. I'm going to keep an eye on the leader. You're right, though. Yeah, Eric working on the top side here. I'll say Matt Wagner, though, he's closed that gap a little bit. It's down to 1.2 seconds here. The problem is we got 2 to go, and this time around we're going to get that white flag. And yet we get the white flag here coming out of 4, so 1 to go for Henry Bennett. He's got about that 1.3 second gap over Matt Wagner. I say he's going to feel pretty comfortable here as he's got a lap car in between himself as well. So I think now Henry's just got to keep it clean for these last 2 sets of corners.
It's a great battle.
Yeah, it really is. And so say coming out of 4, Henry Bennett going to get the win here at Milwaukee. Matt Wagner going to grab 2nd place. It looks like Chad Wilkes going to grab 3rd. And then we're going to jump back to that fight, though, off of turn number 4 between Eric Schaus and David Payton. And David just going to edge him out there for the 6th position. Eric Schaus in 4th. You're right, Steve. I wish I could have shown more of that, but yeah, you're right, though. That was a great fight. Those two looked like they were side by side for about the last 4 or 5 laps there.
Yep, they were, definitely. A very impressive battle between those two.
Henry Bennett going to get kind of the trifecta here, get the pole, win the race. I believe lead the most laps as well, so he's going to be a very happy camper here tonight.
Yeah, that's going to help a lot in the points race.
Yeah, so he's going to be right. So probably will propel him up to the top spot on that one, but again, and again, the biggest thing for him, I think, is those bonus points, because we know we talked to Charles and said his goal is to try to maximize bonus points and ideally keep them away from his competition as well. But yeah, say when you've got competition like Henry Bennett, it's going to be tough to do. As you see, he's made the front stretch a little smokier and a little darker after those burnouts here. So we got to hunt down our top 3, starting with Chad Wilkes, and let's get some interviews going. All right, Steve, so we're going to start off with that 17 of Chad Wilkes. So he is already prepared for us. He was right next door. So we're gonna grab that 17 car. So it's gonna be an easy one not to, or I should say, a hard one to miss here on the paint scheme side of things. As I know you went with that throwback scheme on the Cup side of things, bringing it back over to the Indy side as well, and it served you well there tonight, Chaz. I mean, you went from 11th to third, and you had some very good long run pace. I mean, you were chasing those guys down right before that pit stop. As say, obviously lost a little bit of ground after the pit stop cycle. Hindsight, is there anything you may have felt like you should have done differently coming those final laps and leading up to that pit stop as well?
I should have not taken a full tank of gas. I don't know why I did. I felt like, I mean, there's some stuff I'm bad at for the first 2 laps. I'm probably not even top 10 fastest in the first 2 laps when the tires are cold, but I honestly felt like I was probably the fastest here. And I was wondering, I got screwed up with lap traffic there at the end. But then Matt just kind of, I really backed down the last few laps. But even when I was going hard, I couldn't make up any ground on him. And I couldn't figure out why. And I might be wrong, but I would assume that they were smart enough to not be like me and take a full tank of gas. So it's like, my gosh, they are so fast that I couldn't. And then I thought about it. I was like, why did I take a full tank of gas? So that's probably the one big thing I'll do differently. I definitely was fast on the long run. I was just kind of cruising. I was able to run a lower line than everybody else pretty much the whole race. And generally on iRacing, for whatever reason, the lower you run, it saves tires better. So I think, Henry is really fast. And he kind of takes those big arcing lines. He kind of does it everywhere. He does it on the road courses too. And that's definitely super fast. And I can't drive that way. But I think it's sort of better to save tires to kind of drive that really tight inside line the way I was. But yeah, I don't know. If I wouldn't have taken gas and not got caught behind lap traffic, I was fighting all race to get. I was like, if I could just get close to Henry, I'd love to see what we could do on fresh tires and go. And kind of got caught in lap traffic, and maybe they took full fuel too when they were just that much faster than me. But I don't know. I definitely did, and I was pissed off about it.
Well, we noticed during the race, first of all, that you were definitely very fast on long runs. And the other thing we noticed is it certainly seemed like when people were on lighter fuel, even when they had older tires, that they were a lot faster than cars, or at least equal to cars that had full fuel and fresh tires.
Yeah, it makes a difference in these cars. I mean, even in qualifying, I don't know. I don't know that it's a trick. I think everybody does it, but you kind of sit and let the car run a little bit in qualifying for you to take off to try to burn off that extra little bit of qualifying fuel. I mean, these cars are so light that any amount of gas matters. But it's the story of my life on iRacing is doing stupid stuff in the pits that cost me. But that's just I'm so bad at paying attention to those details, and I'm just so focused on driving. And if I wouldn't have taken fuel, I'd have definitely been a whole lot faster there at the end. I mean, those guys were flying, and they're fast anyway. Obviously, definitely don't want to say that they're not, but they were going so fast, and I was like, man, why are they going so fast? And I thought about it. But then again, they might not have taken, I don't know for sure, but my assumption would be that they did. And if they're not, they're just that much faster, and I'd needed a long run and didn't quite get it.
I'm guessing they probably went lower on fuel. The other question I had for you is, what were you doing with your shifting? Because I spent some time in practice trying to figure it out, and it kind of seemed for me like getting down to third gear in the turns and up to fifth on the straightaways was what worked best for me.
Um, yeah, I only got in the room with like 12 minutes left, and I've raced one IndyCar race on this track like last March or somewhere around this time last year. And I won an Area 51 race here. And so I remembered a little bit from that, but the cars are different, and they've done so many updates that I really couldn't apply anything. And so at first in practice, I was going down the third and felt like I was going faster. And then I jumped into Henry and Matt's cars and to see what they were doing. And during practice, and they were going, I'm not afraid to admit that. And at times they were only going down to fifth and fourth. And so I was like, well, third's definitely not fastest. And I started trying to stay up in the higher gears more, and that did help me go faster for whatever reason. I guess that engine brake dropping down to third kind of helps you turn, but I guess it breaks your momentum so much that it hurts the overall lap time. So I was dropping down to fourth every time. Every now and then I was getting up to sixth on the straightaways if I got a really good run, just because that downshifting helps the car turn. So I wanted to get in sixth if it called for it. But I was mostly staying fourth and fifth for the most part, and just trying to really float it down into the corners, especially in 1 and 2. And then 3 and 4, I was trying to get to the bottom as quick as possible and sit it in fourth, get to the throttle early, hang on the throttle. And then when the car kind of sets, then give it back full throttle and pull off. And I think that's where I was getting people. I wasn't very good in 1 and 2. I think where I was really getting people was 3 and 4, seemed to be.
Interesting. Go ahead, Guy.
Yeah, no, that's actually a really good insight because I was in the same boat, Steve. I thought third was what you had to do there to keep those RPMs up, like we were talking about, and like we talked about the pre-race too, Steve, Chad and I, or we were talking about Chad being kind of a quick learner, like you mentioned. Say came in late, remembered some stuff from last year, and still winds up being in the top three with a really good chance of winning. I think you're right though, Chad. I think they probably did run low on fuel. So these cars definitely are very, very weight sensitive. I was saying, and it's kind of like backwards the way thinking the way we are with the Cup cars. So you run a little bit of everything here at Area 51. And usually with the Cup cars, you want to actually really keep those things heavy on the back of the field to kind of keep them looser. So it's really kind of a backwards thinking, where with the Indy cars, you kind of have to actually do the math backwards. Okay, I need to make sure I got the just enough fuel to get to the end, kind of a thing. So I'm sure that kind of comes into play for you as well, where you have to kind of bounce between your NASCAR brain, if you will, and your IndyCar brain too.
Well, when it comes to this stuff, I don't have a brain, so it really doesn't. If on the NASCAR side, I just follow whatever Larry does, so I never have to think about it. If I did have to think about it, I would screw up the strategy every time there too. I just have people that I basically follow whatever they do, and here I kind of run by myself. So I mean, it's just for whatever reason, I'm just so like I know what I'm good at, I know what I'm bad at. I'm good at going fast and tracks where you have to brake and downshift and do all that stuff and things where you really got to drive it. I think I'm generally really fast at those kinds of places in really any kind of car, road courses, all that stuff. But when it comes to pit strategy stuff, getting on and off pit road, all that kind of stuff, I'm not as good as a lot of other guys, and it hurts me a lot. But in the Cup side, it's okay because I have other people that I can just follow and just focus on driving. But yeah, I probably need like some crew chief apps and stuff like that to help me be able to do that stuff without messing up. But it is what it is. I mean, I'll take a third. I'm happy to start. I had a terrible qualifying, and to finish second or to finish third to guys as fast as Henry and Matt in Indy cars when I don't do this very often. I mean, I'll take that every day of the week until the last race of the season.
All right, so if there's any crew chiefs listening who are looking for a fast driver to help kind of get that little extra out of them, say hit up Chad Wilkes, because I think, but if you get you on the pit strategies and everything, that'll get you that little bit of advantage. I think you're going to be a tough one to beat week in and week out. But I mean, yeah, great job though tonight, Chad. I know sometimes your dad's able to help you out there too, so maybe kind of start bribing him back in on things as well. To get him with that fuel calculator and get him to work there. But I got to give you the floor, man. It was a great run, like you said. We're 11th to 3rd, so that's a lot of green flag passing you had to do, obviously. But yeah, any thanks and shouts you'd like to give for that run tonight?
Yeah, my dad got a new job, which makes him much less available at night. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to get him much anymore. But yeah, just thanks to the league and all the drivers and stuff. Again, I mean, we drive these cars, and it's not always like this, but you drive these cars at these tough tracks for there to be as few cautions as there were. I mean, you come to tracks like this, it's liable to be a caution fest, and it wasn't. Everybody was generally safe. I mean, I got caught up in some light traffic, but that's going to happen, so no worries there. And so just thanks to all the drivers for being able to keep it relatively clean and have a good, fun race. And it was tight racing. I made, like you said, a lot of green flag passes, and everybody was respectful and gave me room and, raced everybody tough. And so that's really cool. And then thanks to y'all for the broadcast. As always, great to be able to go back and watch these. And that's huge for a league to be able to have y'all. And I know y'all put in a lot of work, which is really awesome. And I've been watching the YouTube. Looks like some of the views, the numbers are going up. So looks like more and more people are watching it, which is always cool. So thanks to y'all for that, and thanks to the admins for put all this work together, and for all the guys that work on the setups and stuff, and get us great dialed in setups that are raceable. So thanks to everybody.
Yeah, so, and you're spot on too. On like you said, on the YouTube side of things, I'd say we've definitely been noticing an uptick of viewership, and some people will say actually starting to chime in and chat with us during the races and saying that. And I say I speak for myself and say I can't speak for Steve there, but I mean I love it. I say it's great having kind of the interaction with the fans of the specific drivers. Say be it friends, family, whatever it may be. It's really cool to see. And yeah, so it just makes it that much more enjoyable for me, especially to be able to do this for you guys. And I'm loving it. As I look forward to keep doing this plenty of times, plenty of seasons further along here. So yeah, great job again though, Chad. Say obviously been on a really good streak these last few races. We know we're aiming for that top 8 in points going into these next couple of races. So hopefully you can keep that run going, and we'll hopefully see you in that playoff fight.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
Great finish there, Chad.
Thank you.
All right, Steve. Now we got to jump over to our number 11 of Matt Wagner. Say Matt finished in the second position, started in third. I feel like, I mean, it's one of those things like it's hard to not be happy with the second place finish, but at the same time, I mean, we know how competitive that 11 car is, and he's always going to have that drive to try to win every race he has the opportunity for. And it just seemed like in the end of things, was it just not having that clean air that you're hoping to have at some point in the race tonight?
Yeah, the clean air means everything to me. So does tire wear. I noticed Craig pitted early. If stand me correctly on that one.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, he pitted about, I want to say it was about, what, 8 or 9 laps before you guys, if I'm not mistaken.
Wow, tires do make a difference. Okay. So me and Henry pitted at the same time, and lap traffic come, and I got by them both, but not the most important one. But it was hard to keep up with Henry. If I would have pitted 1 lap sooner, I don't think would have made a difference.
It was, and it's actually it's good you mentioned the tires though, that they mattered, because I was telling Steve, all right, somebody's going to do maybe a splash of fuel only to save those couple of seconds of a pit stop, instead of waiting the 7 or so seconds for the tires to go, and just take that little bit of splash of fuel to make it to the end. So it sounds like actually the tires played a bigger role than we may have expected here tonight.
Yeah, the tires did make a difference, because I started turning my fastest laps of the race toward when I was on the lighter fuel load and new tires. I think I was turning 22 9s and 8s. That's pretty quick.
Yeah, no, you and Henry, and I say, and actually Craig, when he got out there with his fresh tires earlier, so he actually wound up setting that fastest lap of the race at that point as well. I'm saying that kind of actually leads into what I was going to quiz you on as well, because we're talking to Chad, and he had mentioned that he just kind of by habit filled it up with fuel. So we were going to check with you and Henry as well, to make sure what your strategy was, whether you filled it all the way to the top, or if you just kind of just put enough just to make sure you make it to the end there.
I just put enough till I made it to the end. I had 0.3 gallons remaining when I crossed the line, so it was pretty close.
Yeah, we kind of figured that you guys had gone light on fuel. If you hadn't pitted there when you did with Henry, how many more laps could you have gone without pitting?
That's a good question. I think I would have lost more time. I really think that the tires, and because I picked up about 4/10, so 4/10 fuel only. Maybe that. No, I wouldn't have done it.
Yeah, I don't think. Well, that probably wouldn't have worked.
No, it would not work out, because Henry is pretty quick. But I'm curious if he would have got my dirty air, how would have he done? I'm curious about that. Ask him that. I'm just quite curious.
I'll definitely be quizzing on it. And you're right though. I think you're right though. If you had gone later, I think it would have hurt
cut
you.
out.
Warren Kyle, hello.
Yeah, sometimes my buttons don't work. It's fun. I think you're exactly right though, Matt, on that, because sometimes we've seen before with we saw, I believe it was Chad and it was also Eric. Chad pitted just one lap later. Eric ran, I think, a couple more than you guys then pitted, and it seemed like Eric actually fell way further back than the rest of you guys after that pit stop cycle. So I think you're right, though. I think if you had gone later, that probably would have hurt you more than helped you. It seems like the only option you really had would have been to maybe try to undercut him by like I said, maybe a lap or so. But you never know when they're going to pit, obviously, in relation to you. Did you have any thoughts of maybe kind of reacting to Craig when he jumped in, or were you kind of just you're set focused on either mimicking Henry or trying to keep it within like a lap or so of what Henry was going to do?
I was trying to judge when me and Henry were in the same chat, so he wasn't really talking much, and neither was I. So we were kind of staying silent on our both of the ends here. So I was planning to do what he does and just try and do better. And unfortunately, I failed. I braked a little bit too early coming to the pit stall, and I lost a second there. So that explains that.
So when he did finally pit, did he announce it in time for you to decide, or did you just notice in time?
Nope. I mean, he was being sneaky about it.
Yeah, I have the league I race in on Sundays. I have a bunch of really fun teammates that I raced with, and the one who tends to be the fastest of all of us, and he and I are pretty close. Whenever I'm like really close to him and he's gonna pit, he doesn't say a word. And he's fooled me so many times, and it's too late for me to get on the brakes, and I have to pit a lap later.
That's some of it's a little bit sketchy if I'm actually really directly behind him. So I probably couldn't catch that in time. I probably had to pit the next lap.
So you guys put on a really good show there, and it seemed like you also obviously had a really good long run speed because you were closing on him before the pit stop cycle happened. Obviously, we saw Chad Wilkes doing the same. He was very, very quick on that long run as well. But yeah, I mean, it seemed like about 4 or 5 of you were really, just depending on how the pit stops fell there, it was going to be between the 5 of you really for that win tonight. Because you all were very, very quick. I think like all of you were within maybe about a tenth or two of each other, pretty much throughout the race there. There's obviously the one restart where they had some drivers stayed out on the older tires, and then were you at all surprised, like, because Jimmy Dryden, I don't know what it was, but he was really fast when he stayed out, but then once he took the tires and fuel, it seemed like that just he lost all the pace there. Was that something you were noticing as well during your run, where you were still able to go and then he pitted, just the kind of his pace fall off?
His pace was very good with that clean air. And once again, I mentioned clean air. It does help, but it takes a few laps for the new tires to kick in. I'd say about 5 laps, and then they start sticking right to the bottom of the track, and you'll be able to pull off some nice fast laps. I'm not sure if he had a trouble get going, or was he stuck back in traffic?
It was a little bit of both. It just seemed like once he got out of the pits, just for whatever reason, the cars that were still staying out, that were on the same strategy of you and Henry and everybody, just they were able to, whether it was because maybe they're lighter on fuel or what, but just he wasn't able to fight them off with his fresher tires, but of course being heavier on fuel. So it was kind of maybe a little bit of an odd balance for him to manage there. But yeah, it was just interesting to see the pace difference, because once he got that clean air in the lead, I mean, he was putting down some really good laps, and I kind of thought you and Henry were going to get to him pretty quickly, but it wasn't the case.
No,
yeah,
it's the clean air, my friend. Clean air, and if you have, I'd say about 10 laps on your tires, you're good, and you'll be able to stay out front because the tires are warm. Yeah, you'll be able to stay out in front of Henry. Just don't slouch up because he's going to pass you. He's quick.
Yeah, so you have to stay on your game for sure with Henry. But I mean, again, just a great run for you. So I know this track hasn't been your best of friends lately. So I'll say it's nice that at least I'm thinking finish this one off with a good result tonight to kind of get that monkey off your shoulders going into the last couple of races for the season.
Yeah, let's don't talk about that. Let's end it right there.
All right. So with that, we're going to give you the opportunity though for some thanks and shouts before we do let you go then.
I do have a couple, and I got an emotional one though. HyperX, Speedy Snails Racing, Butt Kicker, and of course Area 51 for putting off a good show. And this is actually a sad note. Not many of you. Do any of you watch YouTube for any like sim racing gear reviews and stuff like that? You probably know where I'm going with this one. A guy named William Paddock for sim racing paddock. He lost his life about end of March. It was quite sad news. We all heard about a week and a half ago, and I didn't get a chance to. I would like to broadcast it and hear my voice out loud. He was the one that got me interested in this Fanatec gear. So if y'all take the time, throw some comments on his YouTube channel. He was a good guy, good friend.
Thanks, Matt. I don't think that I've ever seen his channel, but the stuff that those guys do, the ones that put out their reviews, it's just invaluable. So that's a big loss for the community, and I'm sure his family appreciates that shout out as well as all the racers that watched his channel.
Yeah, second that as well, Matt. Yeah, sorry to hear. So obviously, as always, we're always here for you, and of course, thoughts and to his family and friends and loved ones. So unfortunate, but yeah, so like I said, really thankful for everything he was able to give to the racing community, and saying to kind of get you into where you are with some of the equipment you have. I mean, that kind of speaks wonders for what these guys are able to do with the kind of the platform that they have. So it's really nice to have those guys to be able to do those kinds of things and be able to help us drivers and everybody to make things just that much more enjoyable.
Guys, appreciate you having me tonight. Hell yeah, second place. I love it. Y'all take care. Have a good night.
Yep. Congrats.
Yeah, good job, Matt.
Thanks, Steve-O.
All right, Steve. Now we got to jump over to our race winner in that 007. That is going to be our pole sitter, Henry Bennett, getting the win as well. So it wasn't obviously an easy one, but able to get it done when it counted. To say, so we know that Craig went early on the pit stop cycle. How worried were you with him being on the older tires, but still you being kind of having to fight that dirty air? Were you at all concerned that it was gonna be maybe a little bit more difficult than I guess you could say it wound up being there to try to get around him for that lead?
Yeah, I think it would. I thought it would have been a lot more difficult because when I was behind Jim and Jimmy on that restart, they were on really old tires. I was on brand new tires, and I just couldn't get close to them. But yeah, the car felt really good at that last run, so he managed to get to his rear, and it was just a matter of just getting a good run off the corner to get past him. So yeah, that just went really well. I don't know why, but it just seemed to go really well at the end there.
Yeah, so I wonder if that might be one of those situations where we were mentioning with Matt and then with Chad, where the last stop of fuel or the last stop they're taking the tires, and I'm guessing, of course, on your end as well, just taking kind of just enough to make it to the end. So maybe having those fresher tires, but also still being pretty light on fuel, maybe it just makes that car almost like a Q trim, if you will. We're able to kind of just get that little bit extra out of it there on that final. I think it was about 15, 20 laps or so.
Yeah, definitely. It did seem like I was slightly better maybe on the short run, but obviously the clean air helped in the early runs. But I don't know how I got out in front of Chad. I was looking back at our in lap and out laps and the laps after the pit stops, and times look really similar. So I've no idea how I got out in front of him. But yeah, if he'd have led for any more laps before the pit stop, I think he definitely would have won this.
No, I can tell you because he told us what he did. He took a full tank of fuel.
Oh really? Oh damn, that's going to slow him down a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. He said he needs a crew chief.
I mean, Eric as well. I think he was flying just before the pit stops, and I think he made some mistake in the pit stop. So yeah, that was probably quite lucky there. But yeah, just a really, really tough race. So, and Matt as well. He was really strong on the medium run. I could hold him off for the short run, but then he'd catch up to the back of me. But unfortunately, yeah, he never managed to quite make a run on me because of the dirty air. But yeah, I want to know what Chad and Eric's secret is to look after the tires, because I'm definitely not doing it.
Well, I
Yeah.
think if you listen to the broadcast and listen to his interview afterwards, he may have dropped in a tip on that one.
Yeah, I'll make sure.
Henry, I've got a question for you. And this is a question I asked Chad also. What were you doing with your shifting? Like what gears were you in, and did you make any adjustments to the chassis while you were out there?
For Q, I ran it as standard and going down to fourth in the corners. But for race, kind of to get it to turn, he kind of went down to third. But then on exit, it kind of turned too much in third gear. So you kind of maybe short shift sometimes if the rear was stepping out. But it was a tough really to decide which gear to go in. Like if you left it in fourth, you could kind of could make you push out before apex. So that was difficult. As far as in-car tools, I think in the short run I actually made the car tighter in clean air because it was really sketchy on the short run, and you're afraid to go full throttle out of the corners because it felt like it was going to loop itself when you. Yeah, so tightened it up initially and then started loosening up, especially when you came to lap traffic, but not by much. Maybe going down on the front bar by one and going up a couple of clicks on the weight jacket, but you couldn't really go too far because when your front wing gets a little bit of clean air, it you get all the grip on the front end and you can loop it very easily. Well, it felt like it anyway. So yeah, you had to be really cautious with the tools. Maybe that's the mistake I made. Maybe being more aggressive would have saved the tires. I don't know.
I don't know. I kind of noticed in practice I was playing with the weight jacker, and if I put it more than a couple clicks, I was looping it coming off the turn. So I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, to run fast, you kind of have to have that feeling of it's almost going to break away on exit, but you obviously don't want it to go too far because then you lose all confidence and then you're afraid to put your foot down.
Yeah, definitely.
No, it's good stuff to know. Like you said, Steve. Just I say, everybody, obviously, that's what's neat about these cars. You can make all these little adjustments for your own preference, and of course for where you are on track and where you are kind of in the run too. So like Henry's mentioned, kind of starting off, keeping a little snugger, and then going ahead and kind of freeing it up as the run went on. But yeah, I mean, and say so. I think the big point of the race is that last set of pit stops there. Did you pretty much have it set like, okay, this is the lap I'm going to be pitting on, or were you still having to kind of watch your mirror with Matt, with Chad, and even when Craig when he hit his pit stop? Were you trying to maybe make sure you weren't going to pit after them by too much, where you wanted to make sure you kind of either maybe pit the same lap or ideally one before? Or I mean, what was your thought process on that part?
It's actually really tough to decide because you pit too early and there's a caution. You're a lap or maybe even 2 laps behind. So you want to leave it as late as possible, but then you don't want to. Then as soon as the guys you're battling pit, you kind of have to pit with them because if you don't, then they're going to gain a second a lap on you, maybe. But yeah, I think I was thinking of pitting any time around the time I did pit. Like once it got to like 25 to go, you're kind of thinking, okay, I'm gonna have to pit soon. Just got to call it right. Just keep watching my relative to see if anyone behind me pits. I didn't notice Craig had pitted, but I think if just one guy pits, then you're probably not tempted to pit. But if you see everyone pit, then you're gonna have to pit straight away. But the decision was made when we saw Chad gaining on us loads and loads, and to be honest, I would have expected him to pit once he got to us, so he didn't lose time trying to pass us. But then he blew by us, and like as soon as he got past us, I knew if we didn't pit immediately, he'd gain so much time on us on track on our tires that when we did pit, we still wouldn't have any chance at beating him even on new tyres. So as soon as he passed me, that was a decision made. I've got a pit then.
It's a really good strategy there. And obviously it worked out perfectly for you, like you said. Because when we saw you and Matt, you guys got out right together there, and then Chad had to kind of work his way back up, or try to work his way back up to you. Of course, with the extra fuel, wasn't able to make that lap times you guys were, but that's what you have to do. Is you kind of have to make those kind of the seat of the pants calls. It looks like where you see, okay, Chad's really fast on the long run. He's in now. I gotta come in now, or else that it could be my chance over. So. Obviously having to manage the car, manage your pace and all that, and then still be able to also make those pit calls at the same time. You've got a lot going on behind the wheel there. So, well done tonight, Henry. Able to get the pole. I believe probably led the most laps as well, then pulling off the win as well here. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say you're definitely looking forward to next week over at Sonoma as well. So, it's kind of a good couple of weeks here, I think, leading into that playoff.
Yeah, I love Sonoma. I haven't driven there or raced there for a couple of years, I don't think. But yeah, I love it there. So gonna enjoy that one. But yeah, surprised to win this one, and be out front or race really and get the pole. It's not usually my strongest track. I do okay, but I'm not great at time management here, and things can happen with strategy. So I didn't expect to do that well here. So yeah, really happy.
No, it definitely worked out well in the long run for you. Like I said, made the right call in the pit stop, saying just did everything right there. It sounds like Matt was mentioning too. Sounds like you may have hit your box just right as well to maybe get a little bit away from him on the pit entry as well. So all those little things add up to a lot. So great job again on that win though, Henry. That being said though, we got to give you the floor though, and any thanks and shots I'd like to give for that win tonight.
Big shout out to the league. Jim does a great job, and Charles for the Dark Horse pole award. And massive thanks to you guys for doing the broadcast. I think you did. It's always great to watch back, and you do a great job keeping track of the strategy and everything. Is probably do a better job than I do in the car. So thanks to my team. So it was giving me good support at Power Slide Motorsports. So
So we got less to worry about than you driving the car. So I think you're allowed that one. So don't worry about that one. But yeah, congrats again though, Henry. Just an awesome job tonight. Well earned win, and look forward to obviously be one that I'm sure a lot of drivers are going to be keeping an eye on next week at Sonoma. So it'll be fun to watch you over there. But for now though, enjoy this one, and we'll catch you next week.
Thanks, Gal. Thanks, Steve.
Yep, you're welcome. Congrats on that win.
All right, Steve. So while we watch him continue to do some donuts on the front stretch, let's go ahead and get our final results. So getting the win by just about 1.7 seconds is Henry Bennett over Matt Wagner. Chad Wilkes still brings it home in third. Like I said, obviously learned something for future races to make sure he doesn't overfill that car at the end of these ones. Craig Forsyth, he went with the short pit strategy. It worked for a little while, but unfortunately, he still those older tires didn't work well for him. He falls back into that fourth position. Anders Arhus, he brings home a top 5 tonight. David Payton, we saw him just edge out Eric Schaus for that 6th position. It was great, like you said, a great battle between the two of them, those final handful of laps as well. Julian Altina, his first race over here with Area 51, finishes in the 8th position. Ivan Plog grabs the 9th spot, and Benjamin Combs rounds out the top 10. You got 11th through 20th here. Michael Spell in 11th. Jim Brooks still holds on to a lead lap finish, but that pit strategy did not go to plan for him, unfortunately, as these drivers one or more laps down. Todd Merkel, Dwight Plush, Kyle Hess. Charles Teed, unfortunately, we saw him have that contact earlier and was not able to recover from it. He finishes in 16th. You got Alec Coates, James Ledford, Jimmy Drynan as well. Had a great run going. Unfortunately, just things kind of went unraveled after that pit stop cycle. But when he had that clean air, he was definitely one to watch as well. Bud Steele, unfortunately, as well in the 20th spot, not the night he was looking for. And then, unfortunately, I always hate when there's one driver stuck on the list by themselves, but Gary Corley in the 21st position just, got caught up in that first incident and then had a second one, and so that was his night done early, unfortunately, this evening. But I think more than that, though, Steve, I mean, just hats off to the drivers tonight. I mean, I said we talked to some guys during practice, and they were worried. They were like, this one could be a rough one. And 3 cautions for 11 laps out of a 100-lap race. 21 drivers taking the field. That's I mean, that's a great job by everybody here tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this was definitely it was a challenging track, challenging setup, and not that easy to pass. So for these guys to have only had 3 cautions and to race each other as well and as cleanly as they did tonight, definitely hats off to everybody.
Yeah, I second that. I mean, that was a great job by everybody here tonight. I said we saw a lot of give and take. I mean, that's what you want to see, especially. I mean, with these open wheel cars, you just have to, because if you don't, there's going to be contact, and people are going to get mad, and it's just going to be one of those things. So I saw a lot of give and take. There's still some really good fighting as well for position, especially towards the end. Like we saw that great fight between Eric and David there. But again, respectful racing. They gave each other room, and just it was just a great hard fought race by all the drivers tonight. So yeah, just hats off to everybody. Great run for all of you guys. Let's say it was a lot of fun for us to broadcast. But yeah, I mean, as always, Steve, appreciate you joining me here in the booth. Always a pleasure to have you. And say looking forward to getting. Say it's kind of crazy. I think we're already halfway done here through the season, and say just hopefully many more to come.
Yeah, thanks, Kyle. And as always, I enjoy doing this with you, and look forward to Sonoma next week.
Yep, they got to keep it out of the kitty litter will be the goal number 1 for these drivers next week. So be sure to catch that one next week at Sonoma. We'll be back on Thursday for the Cup Series. I'll have Dale in the booth with me. But of course, as always, until then, if you can, please try to stay home, stay safe, wash your hands, and until Thursday, have a good night, everyone.
Night, everybody.